Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of TEQ. I'm your host, Carolina Milanesi. If you've been following along, you've had me talk about sustainability for quite a few episodes, and usually I address sustainability from a corporate perspective. And so we're talking about, especially in tech, what organizations can do. But every time I remind people that us as individuals have a lot of power too. And although we should absolutely keep this large tech organization accountable for the footprint that they have, there is work that we can do ourselves to really contribute to slow down and hopefully mitigate and reverse the impact of climate change. And something in particular that I think is super smart that we've seen in the industry is the gamification of sustainability. So the idea that through rewards and games, you can get people to be more engaged with being sustainable, learn about sustainability and good positive practices, and really hope that those efforts accumulate into a positive impact. Somebody that knows a lot about this is my guest today, who is Nick Arbuckle, who has a very interesting background. But what I'm most interested in talking to him about, although I want to know a little bit about his musician career, is really the app that he created called VIRO, which is a mobile app that is really designed to track our individual carbon footprint and help us develop more sustainable practices in our daily lives. What is interesting is that this app has won several awards already. It was launched in 2021, I think, but Nick is going to get me straight on this. But the first version of the app was featured at South by Southwest as the official climate show. It was also awarded the Microsoft Entrepreneur for Positive Impact Award in November 2023, and won the Amazon Hackathon International in 2022. So a lot of positive momentum behind this. And I invited Nick to tell us more about the app, but more importantly, the learnings that have come along the way by tracking some of the behaviors. So please help me welcome Nick to our conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. You reached out to me to tell me about VIRO, and I'm very grateful for that. We had a great conversation, and at the end, I was like, "Well, why don't you come on and tell your story?" Because it's unique as far as what I love about it, the fact that it was really a personal drive to make a difference, right? That got you to VIRO. So tell us a little bit more how you got to it.
Yes, absolutely. So before starting VIRO, I was a professional musician. You can see the guitars on my wall here. I've lived in Nashville for almost a decade. I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world and perform as a bass guitarist. I've played with a couple of Grammy award-winning artists. I've played in some incredible venues like Coachella, Bonnaroo, some late night shows, Good Morning America.
Wow.
But through this time traveling, seeing the world, on a tour bus or on a plane, I got to visit so many incredible cities. They're all unique and beautiful in their own way. The people, food, the architecture. But one of the things they have in common is trash in the streets, smog in the air. And I would go on runs when we first landed in a new city, and I would just be stepping over trash. I would see the cars, the congestion, and I knew I wanted to make an impact. I didn't know what it was, and then
Mm.
kind of formed into we were performing these big shows. There'd be a large group of people in front of us, and I'm thinking, man, could we inspire this group of people to take direct action and really make an impact on the world around us? So ultimately, VIRO is empowering climate action at scale, things you and I can do collectively.
Why VIRO?
Well, short for environment,
Of course it
VIRO.
is.
So
Of
many people
course
think
it
it's
is.
VIRO, and I'm like, that sounds like a great pizza restaurant, but VIRO it is.
Well, people are still arguing whether it's gyro or gyro, so I guess it's going to be the
That's
same
true.
with that. Um, I mentioned earlier, the idea that sometime as individual we get to I don't know, we stall as far as the impact that we think we can have, and we just want the large organizations to do the work. And of course, if a multi-million-dollar company is investing, either changing their supply chain, or changing their fuel or their shipping methods, that has a huge impact. But I, as an individual, as well as you, can do our bit every day. And then that sums up to a larger impact. How you know, I think you saw the potential of that, right? And so from there, how did you think about developing the app and seeing what I guess, the hook and then the drive along the way could be?
Yes, well, as you mentioned, companies that are taking these positive initiatives, first of all, we can support them with our wallet, right? Because they are making top-down moves that'll make a huge impact. But there's also, ways for you and I to take small actions throughout our day, make habits of them, and just watch that accumulate and grow. And that's what we're doing with Viro, is you're able to track and log your actions each day, you go on streaks, earn rewards, all of the fun stuff that brings, but also see your overall impact as it grows. I always like to say that sustainability, that climate action, it starts with the individual, it grows into the collective, and it really creates systemic change in mass.
Gamification is a way to do that, right? I read a while ago, and it still resonates with me, something that was a bit of a aha moment, which is that as an individual, we tend to recycle because we see the impact that we have. We see the bottles and the plastic, the cans and everything else that amounts to, okay, I'm recycling all of this, I'm impacting positively, it doesn't end up in a landfill. But when we then talk about bigger goals, it's harder for an individual to really wrap around as to what their personal impact is. And I think gamification allows you to do that. What are the tactics that you're using within Viro to help us stay accountable and change our habits?
Yes, well, I had the very similar revelation as you did about the growing pile of recycling. But I was walking out of a Starbucks. I had an empty plastic cup. I threw it in their recycling bin, and I walked out. And I'm thinking, man, like there should be the next step. Like I should be able to track this. I should be able to log this, and just see how my daily habits change over time, new things that I can add. And so we're already tracking all of our activity on our phones already when it comes to workouts or calories or to-do lists. So we just took that same activity tracking model of closing a daily ring. You've seen it on your Apple Watch, and implemented it into the world of sustainability. And it's, we're allowing actions like recycling, composting, carpooling, eating meatless, a whole host of actions that we are then gamifying. So, like I mentioned, closing that ring, you can go on daily streaks, and the further along you are on your streaks, the rewards that you're able to unlock from eco-friendly brands. So we are able to partner with these brands that want to have a touch point with a climate conscious audience directly. And so our users are taking positive action, they're earning rewards from companies, and it's really holding them accountable to continue their efforts, but then they're also able to measure and see their results. So use the term gamification. And I always like to push back just a touch because VIRO isn't all gamification. It's not like Candy Crush or Duolingo.
Yeah.
We're also able to provide hard data and hard metrics from the EPA of the person's individual carbon pollution reduction in pounds. So when you refill a water bottle or you recycle an aluminum can, the EPA has a data set around that of the pollution reduction of each action. And so we've implemented that data set into VIRO. So throughout any given week or day, you can reduce 3 pounds, 5 pounds, and you can just watch it grow on your phone as you take action.
So it's basically your recycling pile in a phone
The
setting, in a
digital version
digital.
of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to interrupt you for a second
Yeah.
here and talk about the concept of the carbon footprint. You mentioned that earlier. And I also like to say that VIRO is not a carbon footprint tracker, because when
Okay.
we think of carbon footprint, it's inherently guilt ridden, right? You think about, oh, this is all the destruction along my path of life, of me just living. I have created this wake of disaster, and now I feel bad about it. I've been told I should feel bad about it. VIRO flips that script. We're not looking in the past at our footprint. We're looking forward into the positive actions we can take and the pollution reduction we can implement through those actions, and we're measuring it.
I love that, because it's true. Is you always, if you feel guilty, I think you also start to feel that you can't rectify what happened, right? If you look at the past versus looking at the future and looking at establishing positive new habits versus, just saying, well, I have a car and it's not electric. What am I going to do now? Right.
Right.
Um, and I love
Well,
the
that leads
fact.
to apathy. It leads to apathy. Just
Yeah,
like what you said.
correct.
What am I going to do now? We see it on the news all the time of the climate disasters. The goals that we want to hit. Oh, that's too big. Well, let's empower everyone to take action so we can move forward together.
I love that. I also like what you were saying about data, especially because we're at a time where, data is going to be critical for everything that we do. And I like the idea that you are empowering individuals to hold that data and to see the data. Do you share that with the organizations that are linked to the rewards, or is that information that is just for you and the user?
It is a combination of both. It's mainly just between the user, they host it. But also we like celebrating our wins, right? This is part of it, right? As we want to talk about our success, we want to talk about our positive impact, because that's going to grow from me, to that collective, to the eventual systemic change. So yes, we do celebrate users, we do celebrate our groups within the app, and also if we hit any milestones.
Awesome. I think not long ago you have included more of a corporate part of the app and the process. Is it because of where we are, where there's a skew of the next generation of workers that very much want to feel empowered in a work context to do better? What's the thinking there?
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, the thinking behind VIRO for Business, which is an employee engagement platform to inspire sustainability, it's the same concept of VIRO, but we work with companies to educate their employees and then to inspire action within. Ultimately, companies have these huge sustainability goals. They're way over most people's heads. They're
Yeah.
written in pamphlets, they're sent out in press releases, they're created in boardrooms. It's that top-down approach where I was talking about earlier. I really wanted to create an initiative that started from the bottom, that was a groundswell up, right? Employees, um, most companies have many employees, and they are the company's most vocal champion, for good or for bad. If they are feeling empowered and saying, yes, I recognize these top-down approaches my company's taking, but I'm also been empowered by them to take action here at my level. Then we can move forward, and makes me a more happy employee, and I can also align more with my company's sustainability goals.
Does the reward system change there and is linked to the company that you work for, or?
Yes, the reward system changes slightly. So we host competitions and challenges for employees, specifically for their company. and their company usually rewards them. We've seen, paid time off. We've seen gift cards. We've seen, experiences for winning teams or top performing employees.
Here is the time where, when there is something successful as VIRO is, I hope there are learnings that you are willing to share with the world so that we can do more. I think, sustainability, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not a place where we should compete with one another, but really we should come together so that our effort can be bigger and more impactful. So what have you learned so far?
What have I learned? Well, we see on the news, we see what I call climate doomism, right? Where it's
Mhm.
all burning around us. The world is ending soon. And there's also a political divide in this space. But as I'm talking with people, as I'm talking with our users, as I'm talking with companies, I'm really seeing everyone rally around sustainability and really wanting to push forward to make change, specifically within our Gen Z audience. That's our primary
Yeah.
audience on our consumer side. They're gravitating towards this. And hilariously, with all of our marketing efforts, most of our app downloads from the app stores, they come from searching the app stores, not by clicking on any links that we've provided. So people are searching for ways to improve their own life, right? To, have a healthier, sustainable life. And so they're finding us on the app stores. And so pretty much what I'm trying to say is people are yearning for this. The tide is shifting. We're moving away from this climate doomism where people are feeling burdened and put down by it, and they're really looking forward to making a positive change.
I like as well that you included, you mentioned earlier about, the commute and disposing and recycling, but also you mentioned Meatless, because I think sometime with sustainability, we have a bit of a tunnel vision, right? We only talking or focusing on one thing, which is basically energy and power, and we are not really looking beyond that. And I do think that when it comes to sustainability, it is about resources as much as anything else, whether it is, meat, or it is some of the resources that are so needed in technology. So primary resources, whether it's metal or other things. And I don't know that we necessarily think about it that way. And so I'm glad that you went beyond just, turn off your lights
Hmm.
3 hours a day.
Absolutely. Well, in the world of sustainability, there's this big, huge umbrella, and there are so many individual topics and interests underneath. And so I love how people are finding their own specialty within each niche. And we have ours, and energy and power and materials are other people's niches. And rock on. I hope they can continue to make a good impact.
For somebody, you're a bit like a poster child of the new era of apps, right? We're doing something totally unrelated. I don't believe you have a technology background, correct?
No, not at all.
And here you are with an app that you brought to market that is extremely successful. As you think forward, right now in technology, you can't say anything without saying the word generative AI. How do you think about AI and what AI can do to really either, bring VIRO to a next stage, or maybe include other opportunity to, to either count data or use data to drive the experience further?
Yeah, AI is absolutely a technology for good, and we are channeling its power. We're putting it in the hands of people to inspire climate action and to measure climate action. Prior to our AI feature within VIRO, users they were sending us messages complaining like, "Hey, it takes 6 or 7 button taps to log an action. Like that's just too much. Can you add a
Yeah.
quick add button?" Like, and I'm thinking, "Oh no! Like, here's our problem. We've just started." But we leaned into Google's machine learning and AI kit, and now users can open the VIRO app, press the camera button, the camera opens up and automatically auto detects what action you're taking. So if you're recycling an aluminum can, you hold your camera up, it measures the can, it knows the size, it identifies what it is, and it automatically adds it and adds to your activity ring and to your pollution reduction metrics. So that has taken the friction from 6 or 7 button taps to 2, right? Incredible. So that's just one of the use cases that we're using AI with. Assessing data is one as well. But I really love that we're putting AI in the hands of people to inspire them to do good.
And I would imagine that lack of friction is really how you get people to engage, right? I think you keep on making the parallel to fitness, which I think is absolutely spot on. But it's the same as when you're counting calories or when you're logging your meals, right? If it's going to take me 10 minutes to log my lunch, I'm not going to do it, right? Or I'm going to cheat. And, you were talking about the rings, and there was such a big controversy around people cheating on closing the rings, right? And I have to admit, I cheat as far as my stand-up is the only thing I cheat on. I don't cheat on my calories, and I don't cheat on my workout. But sometimes I'm sitting on a plane for 7 hours. And so I do kind of do this so that my watch registers the move. But, people, you cannot cheat with VIRO because you're going to go to hell. No, I'm kidding. You cannot cheat on sustainability, right? You need to, you need to really be honest about what you're recycling and what you're not recycling.
Absolutely. And our AI feature helps with that as well. We call it VIRO Verify because there's a camera. It's taking a picture of your action. So you're either doing it or you're not. There's no more cheating allowed.
Very good. What is next? What are you thinking about next?
We're expanding our B2B offering going into next year. We're excited to be working with Microsoft, be working with their marketplace for businesses. That's going to really allow us an open door to their customers to empower them to take climate action with their employees. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited about some of our rewards partners that we have on the consumer side of our app. We have Allbirds coming up, Fabletics coming up. So a couple of really cool companies that are jumping on board and inspiring climate action.
It's funny, as you were talking about the corporate side, I was thinking about Viva all along, because that's really a great, from a Microsoft integration perspective. We've seen all sorts of different companies taking advantage of Viva to really get their talent base engaged in a positive way. And to your point earlier, people want to feel empowered to do good, right? And so having that link between the company that you work for, where they're already investing in positive climate change, and then you being empowered to contribute to that is becoming more critical, and something that actually pushes talent to go one way or another when we're looking for a job.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always incredibly excited to see the passion of our users, both on the consumer side and the employees that are using it for businesses. They're sending comments and messages to each other, like rooting each other on, because they're on teams together. They're trying to take their team across the finish line. And so it's a really incredible opportunity that we have, and I'm excited to push it further.
As always, we are almost at time, but I wanted to ask you, you talked about what you learned from an app perspective. What have you learned as far as pursuing your passion and being empowered with the new way of getting to market and really reaching out to consumers, that you might want to share with somebody that has an idea of an app or something that they want to do?
I would say just go ahead and start building, no matter what it takes. The very first version of VIRO was a no-code application that I built over a weekend, and I just kept plugging away. And if you build it, things will slowly start snowballing, snowballing, and snowballing. You'll have one success, two success, three successes, but it starts with right now and putting pen to paper or type it into an input box. But just start, and I'm excited to see the things that you can create.
That's awesome. I always say that, our podcast is ending, but the conversation has to continue. Where can people find you and where they can find VIRO?
Yes, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Nick Arbuckle. VIRO is www.viro.app, app. And yeah, we're all over social media, but LinkedIn on the website are the best ways.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for being with us today and really talking about individual contribution to a better, greener, healthier planet. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had an absolute blast. Let's do this again.